This is awkward. You're expecting a bard, or at the very least a storyteller of merit. Instead, you get a thief. If it's any consolation, I am a damned good thief. Or I was. But you see, I've made a mistake. I've stolen something that needs tending. I have stolen something that without my intervention will surely die. I've stolen a story. My name is Vanda, and for the very first time in my life, I mean to tell the truth. The truth of the five. Don't expect flowery language or poignant metaphor. I am not some god's damned bard. But in a realm forgotten, you will remember them. You will remember the five. Well, hello, Legion. Hello, everyone, as we are preparing to go into another Monday evening here on Tales from the Grim, doing a little Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition, a little Realms Remembered. This is our campaign that mixes fantasy, love, romance, music, and of course, the power of friendship. Friendship between players, friendship between DMs. It's a lot of friendship. Keep that in mind. That is what we will be tackling today. But how can you help? You, the Legion, you can help really easily. If you look into our chat right now, you will see a link to our going live tweet. If that is retweeted a certain number of times, you will absolutely benefit the party of players that are waiting to take the stage and take control of their characters. And so what does this do, Greg? How do these retweets help us? Well, if we get 20 retweets during the course of the show, believe it or not, we have third level characters in the 11th episode of a series that are not fully equipped with their weapons. At 20, I will give them the non-magical weapons of their choice. At 30 retweets, I will give them armor. Many of them are running around without it. And at 40 retweets, can we do it? At 40 retweets, last time we had 50, but at 40, I will give the party two very important D&D staples. A bag of holding and a pair of sending stones. Basically, D&D cell phones. So, if we get to those, that is how you can directly help. If you want to take a more direct approach, you can look straight down and see that there are donation levels where you can either make things easier for the party or more challenging. Whatever you would like to do, just sit back and enjoy the story that these fantastic players are going to tell. I'm going to sit in the front row with you all and see exactly what story it is they weave tonight. But we know why we're here, to tell a story of D&D. How can we be here? Because of our fantastic sponsors. Roll20 is our virtual tabletop of choice. If you need to tell your own story, want to tell your own story, have a passionate group of people that want the same, go to Roll20. Doesn't matter where you live in this fine world of ours. You can join around a virtual tabletop, upload your own icons, open a free account, have your maps, have your table there. No longer is distance a problem. Imagination knows no distance. You can bring everyone to your table. Please do so. Go right now to www.roll20.net/realms remembered, and you can join up today. Of course, if you are around a physical table, not a virtual table, or if you just like shiny things, please go to our other sponsor, Die Hard Dice, and when you're in the checkout, enter coupon code THEGRIM for 15% off of the fantastic dice they have on sale there. And so, as we finally get into the Realms Remembered proper, we get ready to tell a tale. A tale that I'm not going to give too much backstory for. There's a group of adventurers. They have left the place that they have called home for the past couple days. They are out on the road. They are in search of somebody who had wandered out of the village called Ironbender Oron. Ironbender was the leader of the town called the Bend and has disappeared. Nefarious play, spell casting, perhaps even some mind control is at work here. But the party knows if they can get to Ironbender, perhaps they can change the course of the fates. Again, we're not sure exactly what has happened at the very end of last episode, other than there was a campfire. The party and their NPC comrades were sitting around sharing a bit, as a company and column rode up carrying the tabards, colors, and iconography of Cormyr, one of the interior kingdoms of the Forgotten Realms. As everyone disembarked, they asked if they could make camp nearby, safety in numbers and all, and they were immediately greeted, our players were, by two resplendent figures dressed in armor, a Princess Margaret and a Prince Bowden. What those names mean to our players, I'm not sure. We're going to find out now as I bring them in. Welcome back, my friends, to the Realms Remembered. And so, we are exactly where we left off. Prince Bowden, Princess Margaret have just jumped down from their horses. They have introduced themselves and they are moving towards the group. The only member of the group not currently present or exposed by the firelight is Billy's character, Ulfsic, who has successfully snuck off into the shadows of the forest. There you can see everything going around the fire, Billy. The rest of you are in the firelight. You are known and noted by these two new royal arrivals. But as their eyes pass over all of you, they nod. They seem very happy, very charismatic, but there is no recognition in any of their eyes. What do you do?
Full on, not a country curtsy, but a full on proper court one.
James would definitely introduce himself. Hello, I'm James. I'm a priest of Ogma. How are you?
They nod in turn. They nod to the bow. They don't take it any differently than they take James's gesture of greeting. But as you're all kind of talking to them, they both kind of put their arms out as retainers begin to take the armor off of them.
Yuknon it's kind of frozen for a few moments as introductions start to be made, and at that awkward point when the armor is starting to be taken off of them, that's when he bows, and his bow is much less not graceful. It doesn't like grace, but there's no pretense, or he doesn't understand courtly customs. He just bows low and he introduces himself. I'm Yuknon. We're all together. We're an adventuring party.
They nod. A few of their retainers look up as you speak, just pulling off gauntlets and then moving up to to kind of bicep plates as they pull it off. This is not necessarily full plate. It's more of a mixture of like half plate and ceremonial garb. So they don't have chain underneath or anything like that. But quickly they're being de-armored.
Nudge Roberts.
She just kind of nods her head at the two of them and just says, "I'm Roberts."
The same type of nods, you know, a well met from Princess Margaret. Billy, Ulfsark is out in the woods. You see all this going on, and you can hear the majority of like the exchanges going on. Do you do anything? Do you maintain your position?
Yeah, so Ulfsark's going to maintain his position, crouch down, unsheath 2 spears, and like put them on the ground and put his hands on them, like crouched in like a 4-point stance. So if there was any stray light, then he would be like behind a tree or anything. But he wants to remain as silent and invisible as he possibly can.
Okay. So as you become one with the night, Cal Finnegan and Chirp and Sir Jessup is still sleeping, but the two of them kind of step forward, and Cal's like, Cal Finnegan, sheep farmer, this is Flower. And, he's just, you've never seen sweat actually drip off of palms before until this moment when Cal is he's just hydrating from the phalanges here as he's just water pouring off. And Chirp does a similar bow to what Bianca did, not nearly as extravagant, not nearly as metered and practiced, but it is crisp and it is proper for her station. And within moments, they are, would you like to, may we join you at your fire? We could share stories of the trail, Princess Margaret says.
Looks around, trying to gauge other people's immediate reaction.
James would probably nod like it's okay with him for them to join.
Bianca looks excited.
Roberts is, she's normally pretty quiet. But she is like obviously very tense. And Yuknon, I think you'd notice that she isn't like staring at him, but she keeps glancing back at the prince. And her hands are just kind of like tightly clasped in her lap. She doesn't say yes or no.
Yuknon's kind of been he's had his eyes on the princess most of this time since they've introduced themselves, but when he looks around and he kind of observes Roberts, that's when he looks at the prince really for the first time. Does he recognize the prince?
I'm not going to make you roll for it. This is the couple that you saw in the shared dream that you had with Roberts. The ones that were standing on the platform, that were spinning and twirling in the joy of the dance and the moment of captured happiness that comes quickly after a marriage ceremony.
There's sort of a wave of contention that crosses his face, and he says to the prince and the princess, that would be up to our leader. And then he looks to Roberts.
Yeah, she pulls her eyes away from Bowden and looks over at Yuknon and just nods a little bit. Join us.
Thank you. And Chirp and Cal kind of sit down where you all had the fallen trees and the stones that were around the fire. Cal throws a couple of the fallen wood that you had found onto. the fire to keep it lively. They come in and sit down, and soon the retainers are bringing over pitchers of what you can only believe to be wine of some kind, and pewter goblets are being handed out to everyone in the area. As those are being offered to be filled with either red or white wine, there doesn't seem to be any water present or other type of drink, but all of it is offered to you all equally. Does everyone take it?
How many people are there?
Um,
Like in the background, how many people are they accompanied with them?
it looks like if you count retainers and what would be like men at arms and things like that, you're right around 20. But they seem to be further off across the road, using a similarly like level field to kind of stake horses and move wagons off the main trail and make separate camps. You see tents being erected as well over there, large tents. Some of them are smaller soldier or rider tents, but there are a couple grand tents as well.
Yuknon will kind of give everyone another look as they're coming over and they're starting to pass out tankards or goblets. And he'll turn his back to them for a moment and kneel low down by the fire and just sort of throw a little bit more brush on, stoke it a little bit, get its flames a little hotter. But if they offer him a drink, he'll take it and just sort of nod his head and say quietly, "Thank you."
They do. And so anybody that wants it can have it. And as soon as everybody that is going to take it appears to have taken an implement to drink from, Prince Bowden raises his own goblet up. To the road and a successful end to it.
James is not drinking, but he has water.
Where
Roberts has a
is-
goblet, but she's not drinking.
Yeah. Bianca will drink and then ask, where does your road end exactly?
The two of them sit down, and as royalty is often wont to do, they indicate that anybody still standing, you're now allowed to sit. If there isn't anybody, they don't seem to make a point of it. But Bowden turns to Margaret and she says, "We are headed to Baldur's Gate to solidify a trading opportunity between our two kingdoms."
Trade in what, if you don't mind me asking? It's been a while.
Oh, no, not at all. It's we are landlocked from the Sea of Swords except for the Waterdeep portal, but we wanted to make sure that any of the goods that came from the south of the Sea of Swords could find its way up the Chianthar River, and we can take it there from land quickly to Cormyr. It's something that had needed to have been done for quite some time, and we believe that both politically and financially it'll benefit both countries.
So that's why you've come. It looked a bit like a hunting party. Is that just recreation on the way?
They turn and smile at each other and kind of giggle a bit. This is a de facto honeymoon. We only have a short period of time before the matters of state will keep us in Suzail. So,
Congratulations, then.
Yeah, James would also say congratulations, kind of a
Yeah, right as I think Bianca's saying congratulations, Robert stands up and says, "I'm going to find Holsick," and just turns and walks away just into the night.
oh, do you have someone missing? Is there a problem?
Yes, our huntsman. He's somewhere. Just in case any of your... Billy's not here, but in case any of their men are like, "Oh my God," and then stab you right away. That's out of character.
Probably looking for mushrooms somewhere.
He's a forager too.
A noble profession. Bowden calls over one of the retainers, and the information is quickly delineated that there could be somebody out in the pattern that if they come back, not to
Don't
riddle them with
stab them.
arrows, right?
Thank you.
Did you guys see anybody coming down the path How far have you been traveling on this road?
We have been on this one for 3 days now.
Have you encountered anyone? Anyone
We're
of note?
looking for a friend.
A single traveler or in a group or?
Single, a man who just exudes an aura of discipline and iron.
He smells like iron too.
He has a scent.
Yeah,
apparently.
A
very,
musk.
very
A
strong.
musk?
musk.
Yes.
No one that matches or smells of that description I have encountered. He turns to Margaret. I've seen no one either. No single travelers. A caravan headed north. A hunting party. A father and 2 daughters. No one traveling alone, or anyone in the groups that we've seen that matches that description. We'll be on the lookout.
Oh,
Insight check that.
yeah.
Sure, yeah.
Damn it, Don.
Okay.
Get out of my head.
Go right ahead.
What a 14.
As far as you know, they appear to be telling the truth. There isn't anything that they are actively hiding. There's no tells that drop.
Yuknon takes a big drink of wine from the goblet and sort of clears his throat and says, I come from a place far to the west of here, and I've only arrived in this region recently myself. We use a different calendar where I'm from. May I ask, by your calendar, what year it is?
Absolutely, as Greg goes to his notes. It is 1454, the year of the Emerald Sun.
He takes in a deep breath and nods his head and says, thank you. I will remember that.
James kind of stirs uncomfortably when he mentions the date.
At this point, as everyone's kind of settling in, it seems that the prince and princess are in no quick rush to go over to their camp. They pleasantly talking with Cal, Princess Margaret's petting Flower, and you all see a very small, almost childlike form come over and pull a hood down, and you see her with greenish blue skin and very blue hair kneel down and whisper into Princess Margaret's ear, and then turn around and kind of nod at you all and go back over to the camp.
Did we overhear that whisper?
What if one were to use their read lips ability that they have?
One would be able to do so then, Don. How does your read lips ability work, he asks.
Let me look it up. I don't think I've used it yet. All right, so I can make a perception check, variable difficulty, to read the lips of a creature I can see within 100 feet.
So this will be
as long as I understand the language being spoken, I comprehend everything.
Can I guidance him?
you wouldn't know he was doing this. This is kind of
Yeah.
So
he would kind of do it over the top of his goblet as he's watching.
I will tell you right now, it's very close. The firelight provides plenty of illumination. It's a DC 10.
And my perception's pretty good, but I just got an advantage, and
You did.
I want to know, so I'm going to use it.
Sure.
All right. Nice.
With a 21, you realize that the person that just knelt down has said, Daniel hasn't returned yet. Should we send somebody out? And the response that you see in gesture and not in word from Princess Margaret was a shake of the head, no.
Yeah, he tries not to let on that he's watching. He looks back towards the forest in the direction that Roberts went off on. And he'll set down his goblet, which is now empty. He's finished it already. and he pulls out from his pouch just a small black ashen box with a couple of words in a foreign language scribed onto it. And he cracks that box open and just sort of sets it down in the dirt next to him as he kind of leans back against a rock. And he looks across the fire at the prince and the princess, and he says, well, surely your majesties must have some good stories from your travels. Perhaps you might tell us of your betrothal, how you came to know each other.
And they kind of again do that smile and laugh as they look at one another. And you see Bowden turn, and Margaret, it's almost like who's going to go, and then he kind of bows his head and gestures with a hand. And she turns and looks as she drinks and drains the rest from her goblet and kind of gestures for it behind her. It's quickly filled with a large pitcher that's beginning to sweat on the outside a bit. And as she begins, she says, well, I was never in line for higher than a title, let alone the crown, and my family was prosperous. Yes, they were, but we were landowners, farmers, in point of fact, near the mountains, far to the west. And we provided staples, grains, barley, wheat, whatever the crown needed, and my father's business grew substantially, and every season a little bit larger until more and more were hired. And one day my father hired this scrawny little cuss of a jackanape. And Bowden kind of laughs a little bit. He was a farmhand, no title, no land, no money, so of course I immediately fell in love with him. Bowden laughs and straightens up a bit. And I was smitten at first sight, but pushed all aspirations of such a future to the farthest edges of my mind. I'm farmhand. And that's what I thought as well. But as the fates would have it, Cormyr had some awful violence matriculate down through the kingdom as a whole, a residual effect from the time of troubles. The ruling family lost their lives. Many of the predominant families in Cormyr were decimated, their heads destroyed, their heirs gone. And a regent was established, and the remaining nobility scrambled to avoid a vacuum of leadership, so they decided to pick a family that they could all agree on. My family. Lady Uliser crowned my father king, and on the eve of when we were going to the palace at Suzal, away from Bowden, away from the life that I had known, my father was killed by a falling star. Not certainly the wish I would have made, but his death did allow one thing. The crown fell to me, and I was able to pick who I would be with. And I picked Bo. So, our wish was granted, and though the regent is still in place until my 21st birthday, a few months from now, we decided to allow this trade agreement trip to be our honeymoon, as any trips outside of Cormyr would be few and far between. But it is a odd tale, one that I will always tell. I feel so grateful for my father's crop that needed that one extra hand. And Bowden kind of pulls her to the side and hugs her a bit.
Inwardly, Bianca thinks, wow, there is so much to unpack there. But outwardly, she just says, where in the gate are you staying? If I may ask, I have strong opinions.
We will be staying at the Vice Regent's house. The palace just outside of the Lord Guardian of the city, and we will be able to be mostly in the trade district. We have several of the guilds we need to speak to. Chirp, Chirp is fascinated by this, by the way, continually sipping from her goblet, hearing tales, and sitting. Normally, she's by herself as Sir Jessup sleeps, and the fact that you all are here is one thing, and now there's a prince and princess here. The squire is counting her blessings, so to speak. Yuknon, yes.
Yuknon looks moved, or he's obviously he's having an emotional reaction to the story as it goes on and on. He nods very slowly, and he closes the box that's set out in the dirt next to him, and picks it up, and he tucks it back into his pack and looks around, this time to the prince, and he says, "Well, that is an incredible tale, Your Majesties. What is it like for you, Prince Bo? Was that his Bo? Prince Bo?
Bowden, yes. But
Bowden,
she referred to him as
but
Bo.
she calls him Bo, yeah.
Correct, yeah.
What is it like for you, Prince Bowden, to suddenly find yourself married to a princess?"
It is disconcerting. I am convinced I am asleep, and that I will awake. I will be back in the field, and this will all be something I desperately try to remember. But the dream continues for now, and I intend to live it and remember it as best as I can. But as my stability for such a tale and such a rise in station, I don't believe they've made the words yet for it.
James would give him a blessing and say, "I hope Ogma brings you wisdom and knowledge. But it's getting late for me, and I think I need to retire for sleep."
Thank you.
And James he's going to head off and go to bed.
And at this point, Princess Margaret and Prince Bowden look around. Excuse us, but we've looked around and we realize that you don't seem to have any tents or any provisions for the elements. We have spares aplenty. Would you... a gift for letting us join you by the fire. Would a tents for all of your members.
That would be most appreciated.
James would accept that, definitely.
So they quickly come over, and the retainers begin to set up what would be riding tents. These are relatively big, but easy to put up and carry on a horse. So these are kind of single, perhaps two-person tents, but they're very nice. These are, you've got like the Kelty version of fantasy sleeping structures as they quickly put them up, and they even go so far as to kind of hang wee little oil lamps inside each, kind of to both heat up and light up the inside of the tents. But royalty does in fact have its privileges, and one of those is not having to put your own tent up, and they are placed in about 10 or 15 minutes ready for you all to use. And I see that we're at, I believe, 20 retweets. Is that correct? Let me double check. Almost. Oh no, we're at 29. We're at 29 retweets. So in addition to the tents, everybody, Prince Bowden and Princess Margaret, we also we have extra weapons as well.
Do we look that helpless?
Not at all. And it's odd and it's off-putting for us to have to mention. But now remember, Bianca, you still look destroyed.
I don't know what you're talking about. I look amazing all the time.
Right.
It's canon.
Exactly. But beyond just the everyday glow of the beauty that is Bianca, your clothing seems worse for wear, as it has been hit by magic missiles. You've been choked. Yuknon has been similarly attacked. James has been through a bit too.
Fell off a building.
So it's not that
I'm full strength though.
Well, yeah, your clothing isn't. So the observations aren't unwarranted, as they simply say, if there's something we have, and at 30 retweets, we have weapons, armor. You feel free.
Blessed. So blessed.
So beautiful. Yeah, I mean, wait, what did I say?
Once, if everybody wants to retire for dinner, we can definitely tell you the story of how we ended up in this state.
We don't wish to impose. Adventurers' stories tend to be trade secrets, and but if you would offer it, we won't tell a soul.
Gladly.
The wine's flowing. Yes, Yuknon.
Thank you for your generosity. I will take you up on the offer of equipment, but then I should tend to my group and retire for the evening. When will you leave tomorrow?
Tomorrow in the morning, we like to ride a bit to see the land that we probably won't have the opportunity to pass through, and remember the sights that we see, and then we move on.
Well, I hope then our paths cross again in the morning. Thank you again.
Absolutely. Roll an insight check as you talk to Princess Margaret. Princess Margaret's face claim, everybody, is Margot Robbie.
Oh, God. Oh, go.
You should have said that first.
16.
Huge difference.
She recognizes you, Yuknon.
His lips part a little bit, and he lowers his gaze down to the ground, and he does that other half bow, that unpracticed bow, and he says, "Yeah, I must be off, but in the morning, perhaps we can speak more."
Agreed. The realms carry us in many different directions.
Yes. He looks like he wants to say something else, but he doesn't. Instead, he just nods his head and he looks to his companions and he gives a wave. And
I literally think I'm the only one with you.
Oh yeah, because
James went to bed.
James went to bed already.
They ran.
Yeah.
James wakes back up at the sound of armor.
Yeah, I know. Yuknon will go
No, I
into.
took that armor.
Yuknon will go and speak to the retainers and outfit himself as is more appropriate for an adventurer.
Right, they have a full quartermaster cart, and it seems that they have backups to backups to backups, as is the want and the privilege of a royal column. You also hear, and I'll give you this one for free, that there are 20 people here, but there seem to be another 30 about a half day's ride off. So this isn't the only people that are guarding the princess and the prince. It just seems that if rumors have it, as you're kind of trying on armor, they like to ride off by themselves a little bit to kind of the semblance of being alone, despite the other 20 people. But you're able to, everybody, taking a break from the narrative, you may outfit yourselves at this point with any weapon or armor, with the exception of half plate and plate. They do not have that. They have everything up to basically chain that they can give you. And so please feel free to outfit yourselves with any of that. There are several long swords, and only long swords, that are also silvered, if that's something that is to your liking.
What is that? I do like that, actually. What is that?
Silvered helps you with certain creatures that can only be hurt by magic or silvered weapons.
Oh, I could Witcher it. Okay.
Sort of. Winds howling.
They get a rapier and
Chainmail's
studded
plus
leather.
chainmail's +2, correct?
Yeah.
Chainmail's base 16 plus your shield for 2.
Finally, that shield's gonna pay the dividends.
Shields.
Billy, Ulfsic, as you've watched everybody drinking, no one has died yet. We're going to say about an hour, 45 minutes to an hour has passed. You saw Roberts leave the camp, but I am going to, we're going to retcon a bit here. Do you go to Roberts or let her wander off into the night? Or does she wander off into the night? What do both of you do?
She's not actually looking for Ulfsic. Like, that would probably become apparent. I think you would tell. I mean, she wouldn't think that you would go far. She knows Ulfsic at least well enough to know that he's probably just snooping somewhere close by. And she's just like straight into the woods.
And if I would notice this, I would, once the excitement kind of died down, I would kind of go in the direction that Roberts is going, just to see what she's doing.
We'll say that you run into one another, if that is the want of Ulfsic and Roberts. You two are in proximity.
You can catch up to her. She's not walking, like, she's not speed walking.
You went to go find me. I'm here. You're walking in the wrong direction. Did you need something? Are you hungry? Do you want something to eat?
No, I still have the boom shroom you gave me earlier.
Okay. Good.
I wasn't actually, sorry, I wasn't actually looking for you. I knew you were close. I just couldn't sit there anymore.
Sometimes when people say they're doing one thing, they do another thing, and I'm learning that now. So, do you need something else? Is everything okay?
No, but there isn't anything you can do about that.
I was pretty frustrated coming up here, but if you want one of my spears, it feels pretty good to break against a tree.
No, that's okay. I'm just going to walk for a while.
Do you want any company?
I don't know. Do you
Are
want to come?
We can leave it up to chance if you want, but I would like to come, but I don't want to force myself on the situation. Sometimes people need to be alone, and that is okay.
You can come. I'm just not feeling very talkative.
Okay, well, I'm not a very talkative person, so kind of works out.
It's not the impression I got.
Well, so when I'm talking, I'm talkative, but when I'm not talking, I'm not talkative. I see your point. What direction would you like to go?
She points in the direction that I think you would definitely know is the direction of the coast.
Okay, let us take a stroll. Lead the way.
Yeah, she keeps walking in the direction she was headed.
How long do you intend to walk?
Until something stops me.
We'll say then a good half hour, 45 minutes later, you come to what would be not a cliff, but a rise that drops about 20, 30 feet in an angle. You can drop down and slide down it, but it's a kind of a long cut, not a valley, but more of a recess or a rut or a dry riverbed. And as you kind of get to the very top of it, you can't see the ocean or the coast, but it's the first time you catch a whiff of that salt air.
Yeah, I think she sits down. Like, she looks over and half thinks about going down and trying to make it up. But she just kind of sits down and puts her legs over the side.
Ulfsic does the same. So we caught the air and we have the scent. Is it within view? Can we see?
No, it's the land rises and falls several more times, but it's getting flat enough at this point where when the breeze carries it, the sea of swords can be smelled, but not seen.
Ulfsic will look around for like a piece of like root or stone, and then pick it up and take the end of one of his spears and starts just whittling shapes, trying to slowly make something out of the nothing.
Can I ask you something?
Oh, absolutely.
Is there anybody that you hate?
That is a good question. I cannot put a particular face to the word hate, but people that I can think of people that hurt people and try to take things at any cost, you know, with no regard that there's another person with a heart and flesh. There, no regard. That is important to me. I can think of a couple of faces that I would very much like to. Well, it would be pretty gruesome. But I do not know their names.
You might hate me.
Why might I hate you?
For the reasons you've stated.
Are you happy about the things that you have done?
I don't know if happy's the right word. I feel a little indifferent to it.
But hope is very important. All of those decisions has led you here. And I may not know much, but this isn't so bad.
I thought that I hated someone for a while.
Did it turn into something else?
No, I just don't think I do, actually. I think I wanted to.
Hating is hard work.
It is.
How do you feel about them now? Is it dull? Is it sharp? Is it the smell? Is it...
No, I just, I don't know them.
It is, from my humble experience, it is really hard to know anybody. Just kind of seems like they're an amalgamation of the decisions they're making at the time.
I hated them for something that they unintentionally did to me. That wasn't really their fault. But I think I'm okay.
Yeah. it is a journey. All of this. We come from a world of loss. We grow like a plant, and sometimes the things around us die off. Sometimes the things that we think are real and true are not. And sometimes just things aren't about us. There's a whole world out there. But I had the dream about you, and you were helming a sheep. And you looked really powerful and really awesome. I don't know much about you, but that off image alone, I would follow you somewhere.
Thank you.
Also, nice spot. This is a real nice spot. Good work.
I think that I'll probably stay here until morning.
Are
You
you
can
okay
go
if-
back if you want to.
I could go back, but I really like this talk. Do you mind if I stay as well? I don't have to. I could find my way back, but I'm having a nice time.
No, that's fine. You could stay.
Okay. Do you have you ever carved anything before?
Maybe once or twice a long time ago, but I don't think it actually turned into anything.
That's the fun part about it, is you can be bad at it for a real long time, and then suddenly one thing pops out and you're good at it. Here. And he fumbles around for like another root or a stone or anything. It's like just a whole handful. He puts a whole handful of stuff in his hand. Here, pick one of these.
Roll a perception
to
check,
them.
Roberts.
Okay. 13.
As the implements that are in front of you, a root, kind of a block of old broken driftwood, and as Ulfsik collects this in front of you, you see a seashell flip out from the loose, sandy, dirty half. Perhaps at some point this was part of the ocean, and drops to the ground.
Yeah, I think she takes like a stick or something, but she reaches down and picks up the shell, and just because of the last time she found a shell, she lifts it to her ear.
Just the ocean. But now you can hear it and smell it.
Yeah, she puts it back in her pocket.
And Ulfsik takes another spear from his backpack, rests like the head above his knee, and breaks the top off, and hands her the tip of the spear. You can make whatever you want. For me, I like to picture something in the darkness of my mind, and just kind of make a shape. You know, like, for instance, if I knew you, but I never saw you with my eyes, if I could only go off of what you sounded like and kind of the way the wind wraps itself around you, like, what would that look like? And then I carved that into the thing. It's pretty fun for me.
I'll do my best.
It'll be great.
Yeah, and she'll start I don't think she has anything in her mind as she starts to kind of just carve away at this little chunk of wood.
Okay. So we'll pull away from the scene here as the two friends are carving, whittling, if you will. And we go back to present time as we've caught up. This is the election of weapons and armor has just taken place in the camp proper. This is the moment where you decide, are you going to rejoin a group that is forming around your fire? Cal Finnegan, Chirp is definitely not going to bed. This is exciting. James, I think you're electing to go to sleep. Princess Margaret and Prince Bowden are sitting back down. A couple of the retainers have come over. That blue-haired girl has come back. She's sitting down off to the side. What do the rest of you do?
Are Yuknon and I on our own right now?
If James is elected to go back to his tent, you can definitely be alone if you wish, yeah.
Yeah, Yugnon definitely went off, and like he got weapons, armor, shield, and he went to the tent, one of the tents, to pack it all away. He's not gone to bed, so you'd probably
Cool.
hear like the rattling in his
I'm
tent.
coming in.
And he looks over his shoulder up at you, and you see he's holding that ash box again tightly between his two hands, and he slides it back, and his tent's already a mess. He's already made a mess of it with all the items and equipment he's sort of started to organize. And he clears his throat and says, Bianca, what can I do for you?
Hi. And her accent is back in full force. So, first of all, what's that? You're bad at hiding things, like ravens
I'm
coming
not.
out of your cloak.
I don't try to hide anything. This is a matter of personal importance, nothing more.
What is it then? It's a box?
And kind of like gives you a long look, like he's considering something for a few moments, and he says, why don't you come in and have a seat if you'd like to talk?
Cool. Yeah, she looks like a normal human again. I'm gonna
Okay.
assume I got some kind of outfit too out of this, so I'm feeling spiffy.
Very
I look
spiffy.
like a slutty equestrian. Hey, what's up?
It's that classic Cormier look.
You know.
Yeah, High Cormyrian is just slutty equestrian. That's all it is.
That's right. He scoots over and holds the box in his hand and kind of runs a finger along the writing. He says, this is sort of, I guess you would call it a holy object. It holds stories.
What?
I'm a priest of sorts, or at least I was. This is my reliquary. It contains stories, and I give those stories to my goddess.
I'm sorry. She's had a lot to drink. You're a priest? You're a priest. You're a priest?
I don't know if I am anymore. I was many years ago.
Fuck. Okay.
Why does that surprise you so much, Bianca?
I don't know, I didn't instantly dislike you. But I guess you weren't lecturing people, so maybe that's to do with it.
That's not our way.
Who's your goddess?
She has many names. She is the queen of memories, the queen of winter.
And do you write stories down? Do you whisper them into the box?
I speak to people They speak the stories into the box, and I give those stories up. I've written some stories before, original works, not anything particularly good.
Poems?
Maybe.
You have the eyes of a poet.
Well, the rest of me is not a very good poet. I learned something today. I don't know what it means, but I've been gone from this land a lot longer than I thought I was. That princess out there, I know her. I met her when she was a young girl. But to me, that was just a few years ago.
Something like that's up with Jim, too.
Jim?
James.
He just kind of looks dumb. Oh. I don't know what that means.
It's only been, I don't know how long it's been for Roberts. It's been maybe a few months for me.
I don't think it's been long for Roberts either.
No idea about Ulfi. I don't know if they have calendars up in the mountains.
I don't know. He wasn't. I'm trying to make sure I'm not metagaming. Does Yuknon? We all know that Ulfzig's grandmom was there, right? That they ran into her, right?
Yes, we talked about it when we woke up.
Okay, I thought so.
Yeah.
We still don't know what happened to his grandmother. She's probably one of the only people that can actually give us meaningful answers.
Yeah, if you can trust what she says.
I don't.
I knew I liked you.
What's your next step once we deal with Ironbender?
Well, I think we've got to tell someone about the things. The Star Men.
Do you feel dedicated to taking on Starmen? If it goes to war, if it becomes a more storied tale than a single encounter? Are you in for that?
I wouldn't have been. But yeah.
I think we're a good group. I just wish I understood what was going on. You didn't see Roberts come back, did you? Or Ulfsik?
No.
He kind of looks beyond out the tent. Yeah, I hope they're okay.
And with that, as I hope they're okay, drifts out past the tent flap, we go over to the slumbering form, presumably, of James. Steve, do we find James sleeping?
Yes, James is definitely sleeping. He's been very tired here. He's, glossed over his new armor. He's kind of, sharpened his new sword, and he's definitely feels like these people that they seem pretty genuine. He's feels like he can finally get a good night's sleep. It's been a very long day. He's fell off 2 buildings and been beaten up, and it's pretty much he's going to call it a day here. He's got to replenish. He kind of prays to Ogma before he goes to bed, Says, Ogma, please give me wisdom, and then he's off. You know, help us find Ironbender. He's praying to Ogma to give them the right trail to find Ironbender.
Roll a perception check. You're sleeping. You cannot guidance yourself.
15.
I mean, I'm pretty sure that's what you're going to ask, but
No, I was going to say, hey, thanks, buddy. I will definitely do that.
with a 14, you snap awake as for a moment, whether you left the lamp on or not, it flares and glows for a second, and you hear ringing in your ears as if it were spoken beside you, a deep James. And you know right away that that voice is of a dragonborn you used to know.
Does it sound like an older voice, or does it sound exactly the same as I recall?
It's voices of friends are easily identifiable, and this is Balasar.
Balazar, yes.
James, she's hurt.
Methylene.
Hurt real bad.
Where are you, Balazar? Where is she?
Thay. I'll meet you in Thay. And the lamp flares, and you hear no more.
James gives a gulp. And he starts to kind of rub his head. Like, would he know the distance, how far Thay is away? Like, how long does he think it would take to get there? Or is he just like, I have to get there fast?
Thay's a bit of a hike. Like,
is it north?
It's east, pretty much the known continent east. Across the Sea of Stars, Sea of Fallen Stars. It's away.
How did they get to Thay? Why did they go to Thay? He's going to pull out that scroll. And he's going to begin to start studying that scroll that he had that was Thay, that he believed was Thay.
Okay.
And just kind of like, he's going to have to get the water deep. And, that's where he plans on going anyway. That's, he was going to help them find Ironbender, and then he was off to water deep, whatever he has to do.
Okay.
So he, there's not much he can, he studies the scroll. He wants to start to try to learn Thay. It's going to be he's going to try to learn that language. That's probably take a little time, but it's going to take time to get there, I guess. And he kind of thinks about the ley lines, travel.
Yep. Thay is just a combination of screams, death rattles, and whistles. So you should be able to pick that up pretty easily.
Okay. Well, he's going to start trying to learn that.
No, I'm joking, but yeah. So I'm assuming you can start looking at this, but I'm assuming you still want James to have the effects of a full rest. So you're okay.
He's going to have to go back. He's got to go back to sleep. Yeah. It's a very unrestful. I guess he's trying to be as restful as he can now. Hearing that is like, if he believes that was definitely Balazar, which he does. He's wondering how he contacted him. A lot of things are going on in his mind. How did they get here way before him?
Sure.
There's a lot of things in his mind that he's thinking. So,
a lot of questions.
But he'll go back. He'll go back to sleep.
Okay. You go back to an uneventful sleep as you slip back into unconsciousness. Bianca, do you eventually go back to the fire?
I go hang out with the royals and the retainers, and I'm totally going to tell them about what's happened.
Okay.
And the creatures we faced, because that's kind of what I was told to do. I wasn't told to keep it quiet, so I'm gonna go talk to them about it.
Right. I tell you what, why don't you, I'll let you make a decision here, Lauren.
Okay.
You can
Yeah.
roll either a persuasion or a
Uh-huh.
performance check. This is like
Okay.
storytelling, or
Yeah.
you're not really convincing anybody of anything, but the result of this is
Yeah.
a chance for renown, since you have
Yeah.
all kind of left the bend. No one knows you, so.
I'll roll persuasion. I have advantage on persuasion checks.
Sure.
And an 18. That's pretty good.
Sure, absolutely. They all seem very interested. You receive 4 renown. You're renowned with this group, and provided eventually they get back to Cormyr at some point, the court there, your renown will be 16 as opposed to 20. So, in addition to that, what you have been able to learn, you have been able to convey in very great detail the experiences of your party at this point, with the Starman, with Dag, naming him. I'm assuming you're telling them about him, like be on the lookout for just
Yes.
little shifty asshole. Okay, so they.
I temper my language in the presence of royals.
Okay, I was
I
just
was like, temper my
paraphrasing.
accent.
Okay. So they all listen. They're very, very into what you're saying. They, in fact, at one point, Princess Margaret gets up to go over, and she goes back to the camp, and you see one of their kind of court, not reporters, but one of their court, like, documentarians comes over and begins to write in a large book as they are kind of writing down everything that you're saying, taking it seriously and not like a tale told around a fire. There seems to be too much passion in your words to be something that is a the biggest fish type of tale. And Princess Margaret retires at some point, but Prince Bowden continues to talk, and this give and take probably takes about 90 minutes, but you come away with the impression that he is very interested in this story, and this is something that he may have been looking for on this little journey, a purpose beyond just a trade agreement. This seems to be larger than that, and he's very interested. So the two of you hit it off famously as you're talking back and forth, and he's taking this stuff.
And I'll give him I know where they're staying, so I'll give him any insight of stuff that I remember from that part of Baldur's Gate. I don't know, somebody's a klepto or something, like whatever it is.
Okay.
And then I go to sleep.
Dawn, as you are drifting off to sleep or asleep yourself, someone enters your tent. They do not announce themselves.
Does he notice? Is he still awake?
You can be awake if you wish. This would be maybe a half hour, 45 minutes after you spoke to Bianca.
Okay. I think he's probably packed up his stuff. He sat down on the bed and worked to sharpen a little bit the new silvered long sword that he's taken. And he's just been staring out, even though he's exhausted and pretty hurt from previous battles. He's staring out through that tent, watching, waiting for someone, probably not who enters his tent, but despite trying to stay awake and wait, he does start to drift off, and he's almost asleep when they come in, and that kind of snaps him back up.
How does Yuknon sleep? Like, what is he wearing?
So he's taken off all of his armor. Well, he never wore it because he didn't have it until now. So he wears, his tunic. He takes off his sort of cloak that he wears over top of it. He changes out of his, more fitted pants into what's provincially like long johns almost. He takes off his cap, his skull cap. So he's just got like a little mess of dark hair beneath. It's kind of sticking up in random directions. and he always places before he lays down, and I don't think he's placed it under there yet because he didn't mean to fall asleep, but he always places his story box beneath his pillow. And he usually falls asleep right before sleep is usually when he mutters a prayer, but he hasn't done that yet either.
Well, as the form,
How warm is it? I'm sorry.
it's autumn, but there's a chill in the air. Fahrenheit,
Okay,
we're looking at like high 50s, low 60s, but it's warm in the tent.
Okay. Warm in the tent.
Mhm.
Yeah, he's probably not shirtless. He keeps some clothes on. Sorry.
As you're laying there, this form slips in and doesn't touch you, but you see them sitting on their knees in the darkness, and the hand reaches out towards you, but doesn't complete the journey. Yuknon? Says Princess Margaret.
And does she look just like she looked earlier that night?
She's
still dressed in.
But when you look at her, especially in the darkness, where some of the signs and the kind of the lengthening of the face is rounded out, there's still that look of that little girl that you saw in that field so long ago, running through the yellow flowers and looking back at you. The one that you followed and the one that changed the course of your life.
He startles awake. He doesn't immediately think that somebody has like broken into his tent. He just sort of looks down at her by the side of his bed. He lays the sword that he'd been sharpening and the rock, the stone that he'd been using, aside on the bed next to him. And he reaches his hand halfway for her hand, and he breathes in the air, and he just sort of smiles a little bit before he does like actually take her hand, and he says, "Yellow flowers, you grew up."
She buries her head in your hand, and you can feel the tears on the back of your hand from her cheeks.
What's wrong, princess? Are you all right?
And she says into your flesh, it's almost more of a read coming from vibration than of actually hearing it. But you hear her say, "Why are you still so young?"
He'll kind of take one of his right hand and place it under her chin, so he kind of lifts her chin up so that he can look into her eyes. And he'll take his thumb of his left hand and just kind of wipe a tear away from her cheek. And he'll give a small shake of his head, and he'll say, "I don't know, princess. I don't know how I came back to this land. There are forces at work that I don't understand. But for me, it's only been a few years since you were a song in the field."
You were the one. You're the one I measured the others against. None of them compared to the heart of a little girl. Till Bowden, I never forgot you. How can you forget your first dance?
He slowly pulls his hand back and sets it down on his lap. And he looks past her to the opening in the tent. He looks back down to her after a moment and says, "You've done very well for yourself. I'm sorry to hear about your father. And I'm happy for you and your husband."
Yes. Yes. Thank you. I looked for you.
I couldn't come back. After I left, I made promises. I changed because of you, because of your father, and because of your town. It was a good change, and I am grateful, Princess. But I am not a shining knight.
I wouldn't sully you by calling you one.
In this world, people are always searching. That's what their stories are about, for a better life, a perfect love, a purpose. It's never what they want it to be, ever. We all make do with what we have been given. You've been given a great gift. To be able to lead a people, to be a princess. You can make many people's lives better if you play your part.
Many lives except one. She smiles and begins to nod, kind of wipes the tears away from her cheek with the back of her hand. I am glad that you are back.
He nods his head. It's a very, very small gesture. And he says, "And I'm glad that fate brought you to me, that I could see what you've become. I'm not good with. I'm so grateful."
She starts to move away, to pull back, to head towards, but quick for the unprepared, but not so much for an adventurer born, she moves back in to kiss you. What does Yuknon do?
He doesn't react. He lets her. He doesn't push her away, but he doesn't give her anything.
It's brief, quick, a lot like the kiss of a child. Just a peck, and then she pulls away. But we're going to cut back to just a few minutes before, just as Princess Margaret crept into the tent, and I would like Bianca to roll me perception.
I will use an advantage because I don't trust you. 23.
With a 23, you see Margaret go into the tent.
Oh!
And
Oh,
then,
I wasn't muted when I made that sound.
and then maybe not aware of the entrance of Margaret into the tent, in the shadows, kind of between this new camp city, you see Chirp walk between in the shadows of the tents, and she seems to be holding a bottle of something, probably procured from one of the retainers, but you see her kind of pull her tabard down a bit in the front and kind of run hands through hair as she moves towards the tent and goes to knock.
Chirp!
Then you can see she stops, hearing something inside, and you see her entire frame kind of curl down a bit as that rigid knight carriage is taken away. And the bottle slips and kind of right outside the tent door. And if you yell out, she doesn't turn. She just walks back off into the shadows.
I'm the teenager here. Jeez. I don't know, is anybody still awake?
Everybody seems to be retiring at this point.
Cool. I'm gonna wait until I see Peggy leave.
She does, quickly. Kind of backs out to the tent, spins, and strangely enough goes in the same direction that Chirp went.
If I walk that way, where are they going? Because I'm about to bust in Yukon's tent like everybody else tonight.
Again? Yes.
Yes, I started a trend.
You did. And as you do this, you see Princess Margaret head off towards one of those larger tents that were erected, the biggest, of course, of all of them. You don't see Chirp, though, but it doesn't look like Chirp is along the same path as Margaret.
Okay. Is she like wandering off into the woods or something dumb?
I don't know. You saw her go that direction.
Yeah, but you can take care of yourself. You do not have an N in front of your PC. I'm gonna stick my head in Yukon's tent.
He has a dumb look on his face. His mouth is dropped.
Yeah.
He's just kind of staring out at the tent. So when you pop your head in, he's already looking at you.
Hashtag
quickly snaps his close.
What the fuck?
The princess remembered me.
You have a lipstick on his face?
She's not wearing any lipstick.
I don't believe you. Just close this. Is there a zipper? Just close it. Okay? Good.
Why?
Good.
Is something wrong?
No, I'm gonna tie it. Stupid. And I'm gonna go run after Chirp, even though I need to sleep.
You find her. She's sitting outside of the tent that she actually put up for Jessup. Just
Hi.
Hello.
How's it going?
I'm good. I'm ready to turn in.
I don't even know what to say to her.
She makes it easy for you and just starts to kind of hunker down in a mat, a bedroll beside Sir Jessup, who has slept through this entire night.
Incredible. You're a good squire. Like, obviously you're better than a squire. This is not.
Thank you. And she kind of turns and like shows her back to you.
God, I'm bad at this. Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna just leave. This seems like a good time to leave.
From the darkness, you hear, "Give me a little bit more room, Flower. Stop kicking me."
Good night, Cal.
Good night. Flower says good night too. Don't you, Flower?
Out of here. I'm leaving. I'm going to sleep.
You all do. And the next morning, the retainers are getting everything ready and preparing to leave. Ulfsick, Roberts, morning has broken.
She would have tried to be back before sunrise. Just because she knows that if she woke up and like if Bianca had wandered off and hadn't come back by the time she woke up, she'd be more concerned. So she wants to be back by the time that they wake up. Is Ulfie early a morning bird, little morning angel, or is he like a kick awake type?
Depends on how the night went. So if we carved through the night, and how we chose to like keep watch and or go to bed at the same time or what have you, it depends on how that situation would have panned out.
Yeah, I mean, obviously Roberts would have offered to stay up while you got some sleep.
Ulfsick would have been too obsessed with carving things he'd be like, no, absolutely not. I'm having fun. I've done 3 already. I am on a roll. You can go to bed. I'll stay up for a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, if he's on a roll, I'm not going to stop that. So she would have slept, but she definitely would have made sure that they were both up like well before sunrise so that they could hike back and get back to camp before everybody woke up.
And once she had fallen asleep, he would have gently put all of his stuff down and then taken the fur off of his head and draped it around her shoulders and kind of sat nearby, just kind of continuing to whittle, busted out his pipe, smoked his pipe a little bit, and continued to create until she woke up.
And because I am benevolent, even though technically you weren't asleep for the full 8 hours, I will give full rests to everybody. As you all can recoup from the
magnanimous, benevolent.
Thank
Kind.
you.
Kindness.
Stop going.
Kind man.
Be kind in the future.
Remember this and
Do
how
we
good this
level
feels
up?
that we're all praising you.
So as you are, everybody, you have a moment to, and in the light of day, you have pulled off on the side of the road here as it kind of goes up in the direction that you want to go north. It begins to rise. It dips obviously downhill towards the sea and the bend, presumably points even further south like Baldur's Gate. And as it rises up, this is the last kind of level area that you can see. And so you understand now why they came out of like the foothills to get to this particular point, and seeing your campfire kind of chose this area. But you can also see, because it is a crystal clear day, further down the road, they must have traveled and passed through in the night. There is a column of a good 30 additional, because it's clear, they're maybe 2 miles off, you would think, further downhill in the direction of the bend, all wearing the colors and the tabards of Cormyr. But they were sent on ahead so the princess and prince could spend a little bit more time and get ready, and again feel like they're removed from this rigmarole of royal travel. You would also notice that off to beyond their camp, which would be just a little bit to the northeast, the forest begins, and you can see the very dense forest that is for those of you that traveled to the cave before, you would recognize as being similar foliage, similar trees and stuff to what you encountered when you went up that way. But is there anything that you all would like to do as the dawn has broken? You all are feeling replenished. You have weapons at your disposal, armor at your disposal, spells back if you are of that bent. But you have time as well. What would you like to do?
James would have got up pretty early probably because he probably went to sleep for everybody else, and he would have thanked the prince and the princess for everything they've done for them, and gave them another blessing to go. And he's feeling good, but he wants to get this done and get things moving. So
they absolutely take the blessing and the thanks, return it with kind of hearty handshakes and claps, and appreciation of your profession is evident.
Yeah, he tells him if he ever meets again that he would definitely help them in any way he could if he does run across them in the near future.
At that point, what he says is, in case we are not adventurers, but we have some things that might help, one of the retainers brings over a small, it's about the size of a coin purse. It's a leather bag, and hands it to you, James, and also gives you two almost like river rocks, about the size of your palm, and hands you one. And Princess Margaret turns around and kind of crouches down, much like a child, and you hear coming from the stone that you have in your hand, "Thank you, James."
He kind of, "You're welcome. Thank you."
"I heard you." She turns around.
He kind of chuckles and says, "Well, thank you." And he would take the bag as well.
Yes, you do in fact now have a bag of holding and two sending stones that work
Nice. Okay.
like walkie-talkies.
He puts them in the bag, and he just bows to them and says, "One day I will repay you. Thank you. Hopefully, I can repay you." And many great tidings.
They don't interrupt you, but they just kind of wave you off like not necessary, but they appreciate it quite a bit. Anybody else?
We're all back here, right? We're back in the.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead, Don.
Are the prince and the princess together?
They're kind of hither and yon. So there are moments when they're together, and then they split up and kind of do their own thing, talk to people by themselves for a moment. If you're looking to get one of them alone, it's not going to be hard.
As soon as Yuknon wakes up and adorns himself, he puts on a fresh suit of chainmail armor. He's got more weapons strapped to his back than before. He looks more like a veteran warrior than he did in his rags. But once he gets ready as early in the morning as he can, before they've packed up and left, he would go out and he would wait for his moment to try to get Prince Bowden alone.
You can. To the point where as soon as Bowden would kind of see you standing there, if a retainer was coming up, he would not wave or dismiss them, but just kind of give me a moment, finger up, and they absolutely give you, 10, 15 paces away as he closes the distance to you. "Yes, my friend."
There's a tiny smile on his face, and he nods his head and clears his throat, and he says, well, first off, how much older is Bowden than the princess? Are they about the same age?
Bowden is about 24, 25-ish.
Okay. He just kind of says to him, he says, "I was very moved by your tale of fortune. I'm glad that you feel fortunate and that you are going to give something good back to the world."
It's only right.
Tell me, before you We're so fortunate. Had you ever been in love before?
No. Maybe a crush or not real love.
Ah. Something of a heartbreaker then.
No, not at all. I just didn't have the experience, I hadn't met anyone. From afar, it's almost love of a song, or I really never even spoke to anyone before her.
Greg, can I make an insight check?
Sure, yeah.
I want to know if he believes what he's saying.
Sure.
With a natural 20.
Natural 20 is pretty good, Don. He definitely believes what he's saying, but with an insight of a natural 20, before we cut away to everybody else, I will let you know that as he looks at you and nods his head, just for a moment, you see an orbit of a planet go around his pupil.
Yuknon swallows. Well, may your new love, your first love, bring you all the fortune in the world.
Thank you so much. And may your adventures be rewarding in whatever way they need to be for you. I know gold is not, I think it's usually number one, but I believe that you all perhaps are doing it for more than just wealth. I'm glad that you are walking the realms. I, for one, feel safer.
Yuknon smiles, one of his tusks broken, the other one sticking out further as his teeth flash. Not parting, his teeth are tight together, but he smiles. And he says, "Oh, I think our adventures will be very rewarding. But thank you." And he just sort of flares his cloak and turns without bowing and walks away.
Anybody else want to do anything?
So coming back into all of this and them not seeing me before and still trying to be privy, hearing their offer for gear and stuff, I would like to go to the person and try to obtain said gear.
You do. You can absolutely have it. They were made aware of your presence, but though they never actually saw you, the quartermaster's carriage and wagon is ready, and you can equip yourself accordingly, my friend. As can Roberts.
And he does so with much anxiety, very wide-eyed, and like a bead of sweat constantly like dripping down his forehead just because he doesn't know these people, and they put on quite the show with their large tents and things like that. Okay.
By the way, you all also have a tent now that can be collapsed and put onto your horse. So, with the little oil lamp that goes inside. All the trimmings. Bianca, Roberts, James, you've already seemed to say goodbye to everybody. Roberts and Bianca, anything you'd like to do?
How's Roberts?
Chiquine.
What?
What do you mean, what?
No, I didn't hear what you said.
Peachy Keen.
Oh, Peachy Keen. Cool.
Yeah, she would just go with Ulfsec to get new stuff. I don't know that you'd even be able to tell that. I mean, she's avoiding them. Like, she's avoiding having to talk to them or like interact with them at all.
Mm-hmm.
But obviously she wants shit like everybody else, so she'll take it. But yeah, other than that, she's gonna get it and go over to the horse and pack up the horse and get ready to go.
Okay. And that is what everybody is doing when I ask you to roll a perception check.
I'm
No.
writing something, but okay.
12. Great job. Somebody do better than me.
Save us, Steve.
Save us.
James, as you are the first up, the first to kind of get everything together, the first to kind of say your goodbyes to the happily married couple in Princess Margaret and Prince Bowden. It's you and Ulfsic who are... Ulfsic, you're just coming back, kind of whatever weaponry or armor that you're now kind of getting comfortable with, that you just picked up, you know, that new weapon smell and all that good stuff. Everybody that rolled feels the rumbling of the ground beneath your feet. You feel the ground begin to take a quake, a shiver. And this is something, for those of you that were up by the well, you experienced in a small bit before when you felt the earth rumble a moment. But it is Ulfsic and James that turn, and like some great crescent moon, you see a line at least 100 yards wide burst through from the woods, filled with hundreds, if not thousands, of these chupacabras that you fought before. They are loping towards the company. That horn that you heard herald them the night before begins to sound as guards rush towards the area. But as this happened, as horses are being spooked, these creatures are moving supernaturally fast, and they are on the area before anybody but Ulfsic and James can react. Ulfsic and James, there are alerts, everybody is aware, but as Yuknon, Roberts, Bianca, you spin looking for whatever it is this is, begin to capture the far line of this crescent. You turn and these creatures are beginning to burst through into the camp, but I'm going to let James and Ulfsic do something if you can think of it.
I'll shield of faith immediately.
Okay, Ulfsic?
The closest party member that is near me.
Roberts. You guys were... You all were just getting your gear.
Are we near a wagon?
You're kind of in the middle of the camp. The camp has been broken down. The only wagon close is the quartermaster's wagon, which you just... And the quartermaster had just kind of started pulling down the placards and kind of securing everything now that you all had been equipped. But there is a charge. You do have that wagon, though, kind of in between you and this crescent.
Like with my body, I want to shove my weight enough into Roberts to put both of us against one side of the wagon so that there's a side that is completely defended.
Okay. So now...
Where am I at in this change?
You're by your horse, getting stuff ready, as is everybody else that they narratively explained, preparing to their saddles are going up and getting ready to be put on as these creatures hit. And what I would like from everybody is a strength saving throw. I will allow Roberts and Ulfsic to roll at advantage.
Can I use inspiration?
Mm-hmm.
I will use an advantage because we all know why.
Oof.
I think I'll use my inspiration as well.
Should have probably used an advantage. I got a natural 1, so I'm done anyway. So I'm not even going to use the inspiration.
15.
Got a 20.
I got a 17.
So as this wave hits you, everybody but James, you all take 2 points of damage just as you begin to move from the stampede. Horses are taking blasts and horses are going down. You see Chirp as she turns, and you see her pull up her sword and begin to swing at these creatures, but you see Sir Jessup get just overrun as he falls and drops below this kind of waterline of these creatures. James, you get hit square in the chest, and for those of you, especially Roberts and Ulfsic, that are close enough, you see James go flying back, and much like Jon Snow in the Battle of the Bastards, he is just covered as these things begin to run over top of him. Many people, you lose track in this maelstrom of everybody but your party. You can lock eyes with Yuknon, Bianca, Ulfsic, and Roberts. You can all see one another as you look around. James, you are going to take, as you fall beneath the line, you're going to take 4 points of damage as you kind of go down and curl, defending yourself, your new armor taking a lot of these blasts. And as everything is beginning to be sundered and swept, this is an endless kind of progression of these creatures. They seem to be whirling as if they are turning into like the rotor of a boat, and they're running over the area, and you can see just as the first group passes, another group is coming into the area. And for a moment, James, you see the crystal clear blue sky as additional feet begin to pound onto your chest. But that is a story for our next session. Yay, my friends. I will also let you know, taking into consideration everybody in the party has 2 points of damage and James has 4, you're 4th level. So make those adjustments before next week. You're gonna need them. Awesome, my friends. Let's go around and talk to everybody. And Legion, thank you so much in advance for coming through with the retweets. You are able to equip the party with the necessities that keep them alive and keep them unencumbered. My thanks. And Don, how are you and where can we find you, my friend?
Oh, I'm great. It's awesome to be back. Really enjoyed today's session. It was very different from the first, 10 sessions or so of our campaign. There's new forces at play, and everybody had great moments today. I really enjoyed playing with everybody. I just really like this cast a lot, this story a lot. I'm looking forward to both having. I've been needing armor for so long. I've been complaining about it in secret for so long, and now I have armor. And I think Hawkeye said a Chupacabra NATO is on its way, so I'm looking forward to seeing what that even means. But you can find me online on Twitter at Donathan Fry. I write games, I stream games, and this Wednesday, so in a couple of days, we'll be doing our epilogue, the first of 2 episodes for May Black Roses Bloom, our longtime Dragonlance campaign. And they're really cool. I'm really excited about them, and just to kind of get back to touch that story for a couple more sessions and see all my friends again, play some of my favorite characters outside of this game is going to be really cool. So that's going on. I've got some other stuff later on in the month, but that's all really for this week.
Fantastic, my friend. And down to Steve. Steve, James has his armor.
Dude, oh yes. But roll 20 once again. I've rolled more ones.
I know, buddy.
Oh my God. I mean, you want to talk about what it doesn't. Well, I just need to start using these advantages. I loved it. Today was a great episode. Had a blast. Everybody was amazing. Great scenes. Can't wait for next week. Thank you for the armor. Thank you for the follows. And I will see you here in about, I guess, an hour for Deadlands. Deuces.
Right, and make sure thanks goes to the Legion, because I wasn't going to give you that shit. So, yeah.
Yes, thank you. I said thank you for the yes, thank you, Legion, of course.
Right. I just want to make sure that no one inadvertently thanks me. As we go to Summer, my friend, how are you doing? Where can we find you?
Doing great. I'm really ready to see what the fuck is going on. Like, can't we just go anywhere and just do normal travel? No.
This is DnD.
So you know what? I don't like it. Just let me live. No, I'm really excited to see what happens next. And what the fuck is going on. We literally never know what's going on. You can find me on Twitter at Just a Summer Job. That's where I tweet and retweet about everything that I've got going on. Obviously, you can find me here on Mondays. You can find me on off_the table here on Twitch on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays. We got a bunch of different shows going on over there. But yeah, it's just easiest to follow me on Twitter. Just Twitter. Just go there. One-stop shop.
Gotcha. As we go over to the master whittler himself, Billy, how are you doing, my friend, and where can we find you?
I'm doing spectacular. I sure did miss this, and like I was having a real crappy day until this happened. So thank you for making this happen. Thanks for the cast for providing a super safe and awesome, positive, vibey place. And thanks to the fucking Legion for hooking us up and watching on VOD. And I cannot be more stoked. You can find me at Bill of the Forest on Twitter. You can see me do some stuff in the May Black Roses Bloom epilogues here on Wednesday evenings on this channel. And then you can see me and Greg on WebDM's Simba Room Adventure coming up here on Tuesday evenings on their channel. And I am, y'all make me so happy. Thanks for being my friends.
Absolutely. You make it easy, buddy. As we go to the final friend of the group, last but certainly not least, my dear friend Lauren. Lauren, this was a good night for Bianca. I think we have to appreciate them when they happen. So how are you?
This is wonderful. I got gossip. I got new duds. I'm feeling good. I ain't even worried right now. I'm so charismatic. Like, just seeing those chupacabras come at me, I feel even better than I previously felt. I'm Lauren. I'm That Salty Ginger over on Twitter. I'm part of the team here at Tales from the Grim. You can catch me here on some Sunday nights and every Monday for The Realms Remembered and Deadlands. And I'm half of Salty Sweet Games with my best friend Canna, and we have some fun stuff coming up. We have a Witcher campaign, and we have a Pulp Cthulhu campaign, and it's going to be really, really fun. The end. I did it. Nailed it. Bye.
You did. Everybody make sure link for both That Salty Ginger and for Salty Sweet Games' his Twitch account is in the chat, as is the links for all of these very fine people who you should follow, because even if you hate RPGs, you gotta like kindness, and you see everyone is kind, which is a prereq for brightening your day, I've come to realize. As for me, my name is Greg Grimjack21502 on the Twitter, part of the Tales from the Grim team on the Twitch. We have a lot of fun things coming up here. Very quickly, we have Deadlands at 9:00 p.m. Eastern Time. Make sure you come back. Other Doc Jim, Marshall Jim, is taking us through a tale of the Weird West using Savage Worlds. It is super fun, exploding dice. I like them a lot, and I wish they were in everything. Coming up more on the channel, we have our Watchmen Maxi series that is coming out. We have been recording episodes and downtime. We are using the Blades in the Dark system to do so, the Forged in the Dark system. And it is very, very fun. 10 members of the Legion. It's a community event. I'm not going to ruin anything for you, but it is... it's high drama even on the downtime activities, which I couldn't ask or love more. And in addition, we also have a Witcher campaign that is coming out with several members of the channel, friends of the channel coming in. We're doing it in conjunction with Wandering DM, so you'll be able to see the world a bit in two different variations. But make sure you check out everybody. It is the year of the Witcher. It's a great system. Check it out if you don't have it. Artel Saurian Games. Check us out next week, Legion. If you're watching on YouTube, if you're watching on the VOD, join us at the Discord. We'll talk about anything you'd like, or just hang out. You don't have to say a word, but join us, be a part of us. Like I said, all these people are kind. If you need a little bit of that in 2020, and we all do, Come and have some. But as the campfire goes down, there's only one thing left to say. You can't always roll nat 20s, but by God, you can always role play. We'll see you next time, friends.